Okay, Garo Kami no Kiba Jinga Episode 2. They immediately follow up with the girl from last week and finding that, no, she's still not possessed by a horror. Jinga still has his hand pretty badly scarred from the injury he had last time, and there's nothing wrong with the Makai Blade or the girl, and there is no sign of the horror. So, this is still an ongoing mystery. The episode ending on the point that it's entirely possible that this ability is unique to Jinga to purify the actual people being possessed by horrors and banish their essence. There are many problems with this in the lore, and not just the point that no one at all has ever seen this in the thousands of years the Makai Order has been in existence in the Garo timeline. It's a completely new ability, unless it's based on another one. As has been established by the backstory of the series, Jinga is the Jinga Mikage is the reincarnation of the horror Jinga and the previous Makai Knight Jinga. So there's potential evidence through the cycle of reincarnation that they took, where he was banished from the horror realm by Messiah to enter this cycle of reincarnation, that it's entirely possible that he might be being used by Messiah to create her gate into the human realm. This is not unknown for horrors to use people in such ways, and that is the way Jinga was used previously in the Kami no Kiba movie, as a vessel of a Makai Knight who fell to darkness and then went about devouring horrors. The devouring of horrors is the marker for the summoning of Messiah, after all. You eat so many horrors and then you can act as a gate for Messiah's summoning. Except if Messiah is the one who sent Jinga in this cycle of reincarnation, and now once he's come in contact with horror taint, maybe his horror self has woken up and these purifications are not so much purifications, but sucking and eating and devouring all of the Inga of the host into itself to then over time turn themselves into the new gates, acting as Messiah's... How should I phrase this? Well, it is kind of an allusion to the original series with all this, because Kiba was the Dark Knight. He was the Black Wolf, the Black Fang, the Fang of the horror god Messiah. And now we have the Fang of God again with Jinga in his name's writing and illusions. It's entirely possible that that's what Messiah is basically doing, just creating another Kiba through what's happening with Jinga for her own summoning. This would make sense and fit within the lore of the Garo franchise, and they're just mistaking this as some big miracle when it's actually secretly anything but. This also fitting the motif parallels for the series in it's a black-white theme. Each episode is written with kanji that can mean two things. It's what was this one? Hope and despair were the two paralleling concepts that made up the episode title. So that is definitely a way to see this. It's bringing salvation to these people who are drenched in their own negativity, yang and inga, and purifying them to be a more positive self by just sucking that all out of them, the horror included, as opposed to the Makai Blades that inevitably have no way of returning the victims of the horror to their true selves, as they can only just cut the essence out of them, and the essence has partially corrupted them, thus they end up going along with it. This all comes up as Jinga is egged into taking his little brother Touma with them on a horror hunt. This specific horror being one based in a mirror, who in fact turns itself into a gate, so as to summon other horrors into the victims who look into its mirror. Basically using the mirror as the window into the soul analogy to shortcut the horrors in there and making them vulnerable by, well, doing the whole mirror of desire thing, in that it shows you your deepest desires, or in this case, it shows you the deepest, darkest parts of yourself, your worthlessness, your insecurities, basically anything that would make you, for a moment, vulnerable, so the horror can then sneak its way in. Jinga, Fuma, and Touma are all affected by it. Jinga seeing manifestations of his own doubts over killing his father, who I said before in the previous episodes that he killed his mother as well, but that was a misunderstanding. It was actually his father that killed his mom and became possessed by horror. They still do not know how he became possessed by horror, they just know that he was, and that still haunts him. Fuma is haunted by the fact that she is in fact a childhood friend of Jinga's and has become a bit obsessed with becoming the best Makai priest partner for Jinga Mikage, which kind of parallels Amelie from Jinga's wife from Goldstorm, who, by the way, her actress is now playing Alva, Jinga's ring, so good continuance of the connections, actor illusions there. Excuse me. But also kind of Amelie's own insecurities when she was a newer trainee Makai priest, as was shown in Garo Makai Retsuden, which showcased basically her first meeting with Jinga and how she would advance simply due to interactions with him in her spellcrafting and whatnot. So, yeah, there's certainly an obsession level there, and the self-doubt that she might not actually be able to hold up. And Toma's, of course, is removing the memory blocks he's under to show him the truth of Jinga's actions, and that he's actually a horror who killed their parents. And of course, this whole twist based on his own perceptions and self-doubts, and of course the feeling of betrayal, especially with how he is not fully trained in basically anything yet, as he's, well, just a student still, ends up being possessed, and Jinga, of course, is forced to cut down his brother. And it's only because of this special ability that they're just learning about that, well, Touma isn't just another corpse of family that he's ended up sacrificing, both in this life and the last. Of course, with this power, Touma is freed and is chipper about it, and with all his Inga removed, Jinga can tell him the truth of what happened that night in a way where Touma wouldn't come to resent him, and in fact, he can't feel resentment at all, apparently. So that's definitely a concerning thing about this, as a normal human being is made up of a balance of two emotions, the same levels of darkness and light, and the maliciousness and benevolence of both mentalities. So what does it mean for a person to be artificially purged of this, instead of, like Ryuga did in Goldstorm, come to accept his inner darkness and thus gain power over it as a balanced, a fully balanced person and achieving an apotheosis of self. Honestly, we've gone through so many other media that have explored this that I honestly think that this would result in an even worse imbalance, in that they wouldn't be able to take in darkness again and might drive them crazy. We just don't know at this point. But it wouldn't surprise me if this would make him incapable of actually achieving an ability to become a Makai Knight or something like that. It feels like that might be where they're going to go with this. I don't know. This is again kind of short because Garo series are usually short on exposition, and each episodes are an extended length event with a lot of, visual storytelling and the fighting, and yeah, I really don't have much to say about this aside from just general speculation again, and I kind of hate that, because I really like this series, I really like this franchise, and I feel like there should be more here that I should be able to comment on, and I'm just not... I just usually don't get it with these, is they're straight and to the point, with most of the callbacks being visual illusions and story motifs that, well, it's harder to recap in just, like, these videos. But nonetheless, it's a good episode, it provides proper follow-up, and the final foundation basis of the series that episode 0 and 1 were giving us, so I'm curious to where this is going. I'm curious to see if the theory about Messiah being behind Jinga's ability... Oh, and I should also comment on that. They do say that Jinga has cut down previous horrors without this happening, so it's a new event, and I'm still pinning it back to the horror bite and what we saw of the cutaway into his bloodstream, and that it's a type of infection that none of the Makai Knights have full awareness of, or at least we're not aware of previous symptoms to this. Like, it might be manifesting differently than they expected to, so aren't accounting for the side effects or something like that. And, well, I'm just really curious because, again, this is against, not exactly against the grain, but it's a story they have yet to do before. Whereas, the original Garo, Makai Senki, and Makai no Hana all operate off of a... Oh, and Goldstorm, too. They all operate off of a timeline and countdown to when the big bad of... or the lost condition of the series will finally take effect. In Chapter of the Black Wolf and Makai Senki, it was a countdown to individuals' deaths. In Makai no Hana and Goldstorm, it was both of them use the countdown as a means before which some super powerful horror would be manifest. Yamamoto Trasumono didn't really do the countdown timer because there really was no timeline outside of the last few episodes to Dangerous Awakening. It was there, it's just like they didn't keep track of the time thing. It's like, there's a recurring story motif that the Jinga series is deciding to break from. Oh, also Zero Dragon Blood had that same kind of countdown timer when you think about it. But it might just be obfuscated for the moment because Jinga, Fuma, and Touma don't know what's going on with this change in his abilities and what this scar is the injury might be doing to him on the inside. It might just be that they're warming up and building up to it, which, well, exploring the status quo, which I'm totally behind. Yeah, I think that's a bit better point to leave it on than I was before. Regardless, I will see you all for the next episode when it airs, after it's aired and subtitled. See you then.